In a recent post by Fabrizio Romano, the ITK, on social media, he suggested that West Ham were not only interested in Slavia Prague and Senegal left-sided wingback El Haj Malik Diouf, but we were also interested in Liverpool's defensive midfielder Tyler Morton. Now, when he talks, when he puts out posts, etc., a lot of people take notice. Usually 9 times out of 10, they're accurate. Um, Now, you would have looked if you'd have looked at my recent shows, recent videos, you'd find details of both those players. I spoke about Malik Diouf on Tuesday, and I spoke about Morton I think on Sunday. Now, both players are young. Diouf, age of 20, Morton, 22, will contribute significantly to bringing down the average age of the West Ham squad if we were to get them. Malik Diouf will be a replacement for what looks to be a departing Emerson. There's interest from both Italian and Turkish clubs for the player. And as far as Morton's concerned, he would be deemed a replacement for any of our central midfielders who may leave in the summer. And so far, we've heard that clubs are interested in the likes of Thomas Soucek and Guido Rodriguez. However, it has also been reported that in addition to these two players, West Ham also hold a real interest in James McAtee. And I've spoken about McAtee as well in past few shows. Now, we know that McAtee is in his final year of his contract at Man City, and he could be available for anything up to £20 million. What a bargain that would be for the 22-year-old who led the England under-21s team to European Championship glory at the weekend. Now, whilst West Ham are continuing to negotiate an appropriate deal with Slavia Prague for Malik Diouf, we apparently made an offer of around £17 million, but the Czech club value him at anything between £20 to £25 million. And whilst that's happening, it's Morton and McAtee that I'm intrigued by, that I have as equal an interest in. You see, both Manchester City and Liverpool are interested in players that we currently have. So maybe there's something that could happen here. We have an interest in their players, they have an interest in ours, and maybe that could unlock the key to acquiring these young under 21 internationals. Look, it's been well documented that Pep Guardiola would love to have Lucas Paqueta at Man City. And had the player not been charged by the FA for spot fixing, it's very possible that Paqueta would have been completing or would have just completed his second year as a Manchester City player. However, with the FA hearing now over and the fact that we're very close to hearing the outcome, if Paqueta is acquitted of all charges, then Guardiola would renew his interest in the Brazilian international. And then on to Liverpool. Last season, we heard Arne Slot waxing lyrical over Mohamed Kudus and his performances, especially against Liverpool themselves. And with Slot continuing to invest in his squad, with apparently a centre-back and a winger next on his shopping list, he may well turn to the Ghanaian international, who, it's been suggested, has made it quite clear that his preference is to sign for the Premier League champions. Are you getting the picture? We want two young, bright talents from Liverpool and Man City, and in turn, they want two of our established players. Now, whilst I have recently suggested that swap deals aren't necessarily the path that West Ham would like to take, when the players that could be on offer as a swap are wanted by Graham Potter, then maybe that changes the landscape somewhat. Look, I've said McAtee's worth around 20, maybe a bit more million pounds, and he's in his final year of his contract. But it's suggested that Man City may want up to 25 million for the player. Now, should Paqueta be exonerated from his FA charges, he certainly won't be valued anywhere near the 80 odd million pounds that Man City would have paid for him 2 years ago. But he could still fetch a modest, what, 40 million pounds? So would Man City agree on a swap deal plus cash for McAtee to come to West Ham and for Paqueta to go the other way? And likewise with Liverpool. Um, Morton is rumoured to be valued at around £15 million. Now, just as with Paqueta, despite having a release clause in his contract of £85 million from any Premier League club who express an interest in him, we're not going to get anywhere near that kind of money for the outgoing Mohamed Kudus. So perhaps we're looking at maybe recouping 60 million, 65 million at best. So would Morton at 15 million pounds plus an extra 35 to 40 million in exchange for Kudus work out? Or better still, could it be that we would have two players that could come our way, Morton and Harvey Elliott, in exchange for Kudus? Would that be enticing for both clubs? I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with both of these kind of deals if they happen at all. Now, one potential setback, however, is whether Man City and Liverpool might want to add any further clauses to any deals that we do. One suggestion is that both clubs might want to add buyback clauses, giving them first refusal on the players that we might acquire from them. Another suggestion is that both Man City and Liverpool might want to add hefty sell on clauses should West Ham sell any of these players for a profit in the future. Look, if we were to agree such clauses, the price on these players could come down. So rather than Man City insisting on 25 million for McAtee, maybe we can get him for around 20 million. Now, there might be a slight reduction on Morton, maybe, rather than forking out money for Elliott, maybe we can get him for a lower fee. I mean, at Liverpool are kind of talking about wanting 40 million plus, maybe with any kind of clause added into his contract. Could we get him for as low as 35 million? But are those few million pounds worth really saving in the long run? Such clauses would not really suit West Ham overall. Imagine a season or two with McAtee, Elliott, and Morton all doing exceptionally well, only for Man City and Liverpool to come knocking on the door, wanting to buy those players back at set prices. Or if we're ready to sell any of these players on in order to invest in future players, we would end up maybe, if there was a sell-on clause, having to give back a large chunk of any profit to Liverpool and Man City. So whilst on paper we might get three really decent, fantastic rising stars who could transform our midfield, both types of clauses could create issues for us in the future. So what do we do? Personally, I would hold out. Not only do Man City and Liverpool have assets that we want, we've got to remember, we've got assets that they would want as well. So we're not going into these deals, if these deals are going to happen, with a weak hand. Guardiola and Guardiola and Slot know what they're getting with Paqueta and Kudus, established Premier League players who will add great value and depth to their current squads. They're building squads to win leagues. They're building squads to win trophies, both domestically and European. We're simply rebuilding a team that needs a massive injection of youth so that we can hope for a more vibrant and better season in the Premier League next season. And who knows, maybe throw in a domestic trophy to boot. So no such buyback clause or sell-on clause should be agreed to should any of these swap deals materialize. We should and can do deals that benefit all parties. And furthermore, if Kudus went to Liverpool over Spurs, that would be the icing on the cake. Thank you for watching and listening. Tell me what you think. Do you think that such swap deals are in the offing? There's loose talk about it, but let's see if any of them materialize. Would you want those three players in exchange for moving Paqueta and Kudus on? Imagine having Morton, Elliott, and McAtee in the West Ham team next season. Would be quite good. Do leave your comments. Do leave your thoughts as to what you think about all this. And if you're new to the channel, please do become a subscriber. Costs nothing to subscribe. All the content is free. And at the very least, if you don't subscribe, please do hit the like button. Thank you for watching and listening. And I'll see you all again very soon.